fighter has the highest fight IQ?
I don't think there's nobody in the game that has the fight IQ that I have.
Off the charts.
His fucking IQ.
The highest fight IQ maybe ever.
This guy hits hard. He's tough. He's this, he's that. And this guy has a dream. But my fight IQ will win this fight.
We're back with a continuation of predictions for UFC 308. This version, a deep dive on the main event. Max Holloway versus Ilia Topuria. We're all very excited about this. If you watched our last video, you know which way we're all leaning. But we're going to each go into a little bit of detail about why we feel that way. Martin, you want to open it up?
Yeah. All right, man. So obviously I picked Ilia in this one. I think Ilia is going to have a lot of problems for Max. I mentioned in our predictions video that Max struggles a lot with shorter fighters that have a stockier build to them that fight really well on the inside. The examples I gave were Dennis Bermudez, Frankie Edgar, and obviously Alexander Volkanovski. Even though he won that Frankie Edgar fight, he still put on like a not so good performance on it. Some of Ilia's best attacks are going to be once he gets you up against the cage. And if Max Holloway does not do a good job of keeping that range and keeping moving in circles rather than being pressed up against the cage, he's going to probably get finished in this fight, actually, because I think Ilia could be the first person to finish Max Holloway up against the fence, just landing a big shot, just like he did on Volkanovski. And a lot of Max's best weapons are not going to be necessarily clean shots that he's going to be able to choose against Ilia, because he's a shorter fighter. He's going to be jabbing down into the top of his head rather than, shooting at eye level. Those are his best performances, like against Cater and Brian Ortega, people that are around his height, Justin Gaethje, people that are his size. He does really good against because everything's straight and clean, and he's not going to have those options, and Ilia fights really well like in those circumstances. So another thing Ilia does really well is he kicks the lead leg, and his positioning is fucking some of the best. That performance against Josh Emmett that fucking Ilia had is insane when you look at how he completely shut down Josh Emmett just using his footwork and positioning. It's like some of those things that the casual eye might miss, but all of Josh Emmett's big finishes are from his power fucking overhand. And he literally never had a chance to throw it clean because Ilia was always in the perfect place. And Josh Emmett's not a slouch. He knocks out literally everybody. So I think, he's a smart enough fighter to be able to take advantage of Max's weaknesses, and he's going to be able to find the finish.
Nice. Yeah. I think we touched on a lot of similar points here. I was looking at both of them, and I have some points for, a pro Ilia win here, and potentially even some potential choices for Max to find some ways to get it done too. I was just looking at Ilia's fights again. I watched a couple of them in between here, and man, his boxing is crisp. He's always tight. He's always really defensively sound. He keeps his hands up. He's never kind of throwing out of position. And you see that. You see him fight guys like Josh Emmett, who are potentially really dangerous strikers, and it wasn't a problem. He didn't really run into those exchanges where he was going to get that kind of, oh man, I didn't see that one coming kind of shot. It's not really something that Ilia's ever put himself in danger for. And even on the other side, I don't know that Max is ever really a guy that's going to try and shoot on him or really make it a grappling sort of fight. But Ilia's got more finishes by submission than he has knockout. And he took out guys like Bryce Mitchell by submission. He had that whole fight with Ryan Hall where Joe Rogan was glazing him all day about heel hooks, and we saw how that kind of went. But I think on the opposite side of it, looking at Max's recent performances, that spinning back kick that Max has got programmed so well, he throws it almost instinctually, and he does it when he gets close to the cage. It's kind of his way of creating a little bit more space and kind of trying to keep that range a little bit further out than I think Ilia would probably want, especially because Ilia's got that pressure towards the cage because that's where he gets so many finishes off. The only case that you were mentioning that I think we forgot about was Jose Aldo, who was significantly shorter than Max Holloway. And Max finished him twice. So I think Max has the ability to fight not only somebody shorter than him, but somebody that we also know has incredible leg kicks. I mean, Jose Aldo for a while probably had the nastiest leg kicks in the game, so I don't think it's something that Max hasn't seen before. That being said, I don't like this matchup for Max. He's not the kind of fighter that's going to engage in some of those firefights that I think Max likes to try and push. The ones that you always see, you know, Arnold Allen got caught in one. Justin Gaethje obviously got the worst end of one. But those sort of kind of emotional engagements, I don't think Ilia is going to be willing to settle into with him. So I think Ilia is going to be able to get it done.
Yeah, just to piggyback a little bit off of the point that Martin brought up, when you see, you know, with the exception of the two Jose Aldo fights, you know, I think just because Jose Aldo poses a little bit different of a threat than Ilia, I think it just stylistically that was maybe a little bit different. But with the exception of those two fights, Max does seem to have trouble when he needs to punch below eye level. He is very susceptible. Although we think of Max as like this high pressure, lot of volume guy, he's not necessarily fast. When we talk about like guys who are quick, Ilia is very quick. Not only does he have the strength advantage, power advantage in the feet, I believe he also will be quicker to the punch. Max needs to, in my opinion, keep this fight at kicking range if he wants to have success. We know, I mean, if you watch tape on Ilia, or if you saw the fight live with Jai Herbert when he got dropped with a head kick, it's something that could be open. Now, that being said, Ilia's a smart guy. I don't think he's going to be the type of guy who gets caught, who's like, oh, Ilia's susceptible to the high kick. I think he knows that that's probably in the cards for Max and he needs to work on the defense. That being said, when you're in a fight, you're not thinking about every motion. And, you know, he could have Max hurt at some point, get excited. Max does throw that spinning back kick to the body really well, especially when he's on the back foot, when he's the one being pressed. He's really, really good at using that to create distance when he feels like he's being crowded. Which, you know, with Ilia's height and the way that he ducks his head on his entries, it could be a smart thing. You know, I know you said like Max just throws it instinctually, so maybe it will just happen where Ilia's coming in, bobbing his head like he does, because he's very good at keeping his head off the center line on his entries. But that spinning back kick, especially if Max is aiming it to the body, you know, could be something that could land on one of the Topuria entries. I think that went off the top of my head is one of the main things that I think Ilia could be susceptible to in this fight in terms of the weapons that Max has. I don't see Max as a big wrestling threat. Even if he was, we've seen how Ilia deals with that, so I don't even think that'll become an aspect of the fight. If the fight goes the way I see it going, Ilia gets a finish, maybe in round 3, maybe in round 4. One point to note, in the UFC, we haven't seen Ilia fight that long.
Against Emmett, I think he finished him late in like round 4. Or maybe even round 5. Maybe Emmett didn't get finished. I just remember him taking a lot of damage.
I think it was round 4.
Was it?
I could triple check. Yeah, I know Emmett was the main event, and it
could have
took a
sworn
while to get...
I thought it was a 3-round fight. I'm probably mistaken. But we've seen Max fight championship rounds more than 3-round fights.
He's at his best when he's fighting championship rounds, for sure.
He did take Josh Emmett to a decision.
So 5-round decision.
5 rounds?
And he was beating the shit out of him, bro. Yeah,
I take that back. But how would Ilia fight in a 5-round fight after Max maybe has created some damage with some of his nice little pop shots? Like,
Yeah.
and when I say nice little pop shots, I don't mean to belittle them at all. I just mean that's Max's style. You know, he's not throwing for power; he's throwing for accuracy, and it adds up over time. And a round 4 and 5 with Max Holloway could look very different than a rounds 4 and 5 with Josh Emmett, because up until like when we saw the championship rounds with Josh Emmett, it was already to the point where Josh Emmett didn't have anything for him. Ilia had taken the reads necessary, was having way more success, and I think Max Holloway could have more success in rounds, say 2 and 3, than Josh Emmett. Maybe even round 1, because we've seen where Topuria takes a round 1 to kind of download information. So, you know, who knows? Maybe we see him give up a little bit of time to get reads on Max, but he also takes a little bit of damage in that time. Who knows?
And I think that would be something that we haven't seen yet, is Ilia Topuria maybe taking a little damage and seeing how
against Jai Herbert.
Yeah.
He got almost
the Jai Herbert fight. Yeah, he almost got KO'd there. But
it's a different kind of damage than what Max Holloway tends to do to people.
Yeah, it's like what Joanna used to do.
Build up.
Yeah,
Joanna did the same thing.
Death by 1,000 cuts, you know.
Yep.
Where, I mean, you see so many people come out of Max Holloway fights, you know, obviously Calvin Taylor being the worst of them, but Brian Ortega got it, you know.
Scaring Dana White and shit, bro.
Yeah, man. He hurts people over time.
Yeah. And I think he had
and that
success.
kind of adversity is different.
Yeah, the Josh Emmett success I attribute to they have similar stature, similar build. Josh Emmett and Ilia Topuria have a similar style in the sense of they're looking for similar shots. They have a much different striking style, but they are trying to land similar techniques, and Topuria is just better at it. So he got the better of all those exchanges with Josh Emmett, and his defense is better, obviously. Like, Topuria's got great defense. Max is, I don't think you could compare the fight with Josh Emmett to what could potentially happen with Max, just because they're stylistically so different.
I think it's only the only way that you could compare those two is if you're just looking at what's the way he game plans for a fight and the skill set he's able to implement on an opponent. So, like, in that case, he was able to stick to the game plan and be disciplined enough to be in the best positions to always, you know, cause the most damage and at the same time avoid anything Josh Emmett had coming back for him. I think what Andrew said about the spinning back kicks is like one of the main worries, but also I think if Max Holloway develops like a good front kick to the body or to the face, because he's so square coming in, and like he moves his head a lot preemptively, but you're supposed to be striking the body when people are using lots of head movement, because you know that doesn't move. So the spinning back kick to the body, maybe a front kick to the body, I think are like Max's best options here. Max isn't really known for his front kicks, but maybe even knees up the middle. Since he's going to be in that area anyway, I think like those are the strikes that Max Holloway should be looking for.
Yeah,
if he wants to have any sort of success.
I would be nervous if Max is going for knee up the middle, because a Topuria overhand I could see coming right up, because the range you need to be in to land a knee is punching range. So I could see Topuria countering a knee up the middle.
And there is certainly a possibility for Topuria being as explosive of a guy as he is, and knowing that Max throws those spinning kicks that we see another Shevchenko-Grasso sort of situation. Where that
where they capitalize on it.
That back exposure with somebody that has the grappling that Ilia does, I don't think, you know, a potential back take to an RNC is a crazy idea either.
Yeah, it's a good point that with Ilia, the takedown threat is there. He's a strong wrestler, and to be honest, it would be smart for him to mix in at least the threat of the takedown.
100%.
Yeah.
Box with him for like the first 2 minutes and then shoot like a double leg just to test him, bro.
Yeah, because I don't know that you necessarily want to box with Max Holloway. Even if you think that you can get the benefit of the exchanges, I don't know if that's that's taking an enemy and giving him his best weapon and say, all right, let's do it then.
Yeah.
Another thing too is what you want to do against Holloway is eventually drain down his stamina, because he has all of that cardio and he can go probably 10 rounds boxing at his pace. So there's not a lot of people that have like legitimately had the game plan to test out his grappling. We really don't see Max on his back too often, working up from takedowns consistently. Could Ilia be the first person to do that? Who knows? But I mean, it doesn't hurt to try and sap some of that cardio down.
Yeah. The more I think about it, I mean, Max Holloway has great takedown defense. I don't see a ton of this fight taking place on the ground. No. I see this fight going a similar way to the second Dustin Poirier fight, in where Max Holloway was landing decent volume and was having moments, but there was a clear strength difference. And Poirier and Topuria are similar in the way that they do end up winning the foot battle in the sense that they are the ones to get on the inside to be able to land at their range. Because obviously Max tries to box you at his range, try to inflict that damage over time. But Poirier was able to do it where he was able to close the distance, land the more impactful shots. I see Topuria being able to go a similar route.
Yeah.
Where maybe even we don't see a finish. We see a decision
I can see this being a decision.
A decision where it's like, oh man, Max, holy shit, like Max is wearing a ton of damage. And you're like, holy shit, Max landed 145 significant strikes or 150
But he got dropped a couple
strikes.
times,
But
we might see Max get dropped consistently. Yeah,
I could see that
legitimately dropped.
I could see that happening.
I gotta say, I'm nervous already.
I am too. I'm very excited though.
I'm nervous already, and it's a bummer regardless of who loses, but I think Max Holloway has alternatives that are better for him if he loses this. I think Max going back up to 55 and hanging out there is not a terrible plan either.
Dude, the thing is, though, is I want to see Ilia move up to 155 after he wins this and to fight Islam.
Not yet.
Obviously,
not yet.
Obviously,
not yet. He's got to fight Khan at 135.
Well, first off, Islam's going to lose to Sarukian, so.
You think so?
Yeah.
That's another day.
Yeah. Well,
that's a different conversation.
I'm excited to cover that one too, though.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
But
hot take.
Yeah. I mean, we all went with Ilia, as is pretty clear.
Yeah.
But, those are some of the key points that we think, some Max could take advantage of some things. Ilia has a lot to take advantage of and has a clear path to victory. But Max is not going to make it easy for him, I don't think.
No, he never does.
Yeah. All right, I'm excited to watch it and excited to give our thoughts after the fight is over. Peace out and enjoy the fight.